In the challenging times that we live in, one thing that is of paramount importance for living in harmony is to try and find a common ground between all faiths and sects. And fortunately for us, in that quest, we don't have to look too far. Joining us today is renowned religious scholar, historian, and best-selling author of The History of God, Ms. Karen Armstrong. Last year, Ms. Armstrong unveiled the Charter of Compassion, a document around which religious leaders could work together for peace. And more recently, Ms. Armstrong released her book, 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life, which is a practical guide to the understanding and practice of compassion. And if you are finding the term compassion rather obscure, worry not, because according to Ms. Armstrong, compassion is an acquired knowledge, much like dancing. You just have to practice it diligently. I like that line. Please welcome the voice of sanity in an increasingly confused world, Ms. Karen Armstrong. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
I must say that it's an honor to have you here. We have been looking forward to your visit, and it's great to have you on TMS exclusively. Karen, if I could start off with the Charter for Compassion, how did it come about? I know there was a prize involved somewhere.
Yes, in 2008 I won the TED Prize, and every year TED conferences give awards to people whom they think have made a difference in the world, but with their help would make more of an impact, and they give you a wish for a better world, which they will try to make happen. And I knew exactly what I wanted, because all the world religions insist that compassion is the key to religious life. Each one has developed its own version of the golden rule: never treat others as you would not like to be treated yourself.
Absolutely. And
so the religions should be making a major contribution to one of the chief tasks of our time, which is to build a global community where people of all ethnicities and nations and ideologies can live together in respect. Because the religions all insist you can't confine compassion to your own group. You have to have concern for everybody.
Absolutely. Now, this wish, is it more of a realistic wish or more like wishful thinking? Because the times that we are going through, sometimes it feels you can wish for something like that. Is it doable?
Well, I think it is. 20 religious people came together to write the Charter together. It's a collective act at a time when the religions are generally seen to be at loggerheads. And here we can work together for a better world. And now we have, it's a global movement now. In this single year in which we've been going, we now have 150 partner organizations worldwide in nearly every part of the globe, who are incorporating compassion into their regular programs. And we're building up, for example, a network of compassionate cities right across the world, where people are working out realistically and practically how to implement the golden rule into the difficult circumstances of the 21st century. And now I'm here to launch the Charter in Pakistan, which, thanks to Amin Hashwani and his team, Pakistan looks as if it could become a major leader in this compassionate.
Absolutely, and long time coming as well. We'll have Amin Hashwani just right after the break, but we want to concentrate on Karen Armstrong right now. When you talk about compassion, what comes to my mind is this is something that we should have grown up with. This should have been a part of life. This should not have been something that suddenly people become aware of at a later stage and say, okay, fine, this is something we have to adopt and learn to do. The programs that people might pick up to learn to be more compassionate, the book, the 12 points that you have given, is it a learning process? Do we have to re-jog our memories, remind ourselves to be compassionate?
Well, the Quran says that it is itself a reminder of things that we know already. And the Quran says human beings, we are very forgetful. And though we know these things, they tend to get overlaid. I mean, very often religious people of all faiths tend to overemphasize other things, like, say, doctrinal conformity in the Christian world, rather than compassion, which has always been seen as the test of true spirituality. But so yes, we do need to remind ourselves periodically, because it's always a struggle to be compassionate. Many people would rather be right rather than compassionate.
If you could, Karen, give us your definition of compassion, because it can be confused with a lot of things, like compassion could be confused with maybe pity.
Yes, and that's something shows how far compassion has dropped from our lexicon, that people don't seem to understand it. It really means to put yourself in the position of another. The word in English comes from a Latin root meaning to feel or endure something with the other. And so it also means taking responsibility for the pain of the human race, and above all, action, working energetically for peace, harmony and justice.
Karen, in your researches, in your books, and you have, you know, I'm sure thought about it extensively, and that is why you've written the way you have written. At what point did we lose that compassionate streak in us? Did we never have it? Did we get busy with the rest of what was happening around the world? What happened on the way? I mean, how do we have to relearn it?
Well, we have, as I explain in the book, parts of our brains are actually wired for compassion. But like any other natural ability, we have to enhance it. We learn to run and jump to get away from our predators. And now we have ballet and gymnastics. By exercising and disciplining yourself and training every day, people are able to perform extraordinary physical feats that are impossible for an untrained body. Well, in the same way, people have found that if they practice compassion, as Confucius said, all day and every day, looking into their own heart perpetually, discovering what gives them pain, and then refusing under any circumstance whatsoever to inflict that pain on anybody else, they gradually lose that egotism and acquire new habits and capacities of mind and heart.
That sounds amazing. I'm just wondering how we could come down to doing it. I understand that you have already, you know, in your book given the 12 ways of going about it. Is it a conscious effort? People have to actually get into that zone?
Yes.
Maybe?
I think what you could just start with is having a look around your own personal world. Look at your family, look at your workplace, look around your city or your village or your nation. And what can you personally do to implement the golden rule and make the world a better place? How can you be a compassionate lawyer or doctor or mother or teacher? How can you make the golden rule a vibrant and dynamic force? Because our world,
in your own personal sphere, basically.
Yes, in your personal sphere, and always going outside, trying to take a global view too. Because we have now, it seems to me that unless we apply the golden rule globally, so that all nations are treated as we would wish to be treated ourselves, and that all voices and aspirations are taken seriously, and not just those of the rich and the powerful. If we don't do this, I don't think we're going to have a viable world. Compassion is not just a nice dream or a luxury. It's now, I think, an urgent necessity, because we are bound together now more closely than ever before.
Absolutely.
Electronically, economically, politically. What happens in Pakistan is going to have repercussions for the whole of humanity. And our perceptions haven't quite caught up with that reality. We still think as though we ourselves can ignore the other.
Absolutely. We think that whatever we do, it is isolated and it's not going to affect anybody else.
Yes, and this is not so.
It is not so.
And every single person can make a better world. You look at some of the heroes of the 20th century, people like Martin Luther King, for example, who managed to turn around an appalling situation of oppression in the United States by non-violent, compassionate action. And one person can change the world, and that person can be you, because...
But that is... okay, I totally get what you are saying. I am just wondering, that is... unless and until everybody has the same goal and everybody wants to do it, can one person really make a difference?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, look at Nelson.
I like your conviction, because you're very sure of it.
Look at Nelson Mandela, for example. And look at
that's a good example.
And who went into prison and for 27 years came out not seeking revenge. And South Africa has its problems, but they'd be a lot worse without a person of that caliber. Him and Desmond Tutu, who's endorsed the Charter, was in it from the very beginning. And one person can make a difference. And you may think, well, I'm a flawed person, I'm just an ordinary person, I've got all these defects. We've all got flaws. We've all got flaws that we don't really want anybody else to know about.
Right.
But all these people were flawed. Martin Luther King, they all had flawed characters, and yet we can still work with what we have to make a better world and make a difference, first in our own world and then worldwide. The Quran says, indeed, God will not change the state of a people unless they change the state of their inner selves.
Right. Amazing. That's great. And I understand that, you know, telling yourself that there are flaws. I mean, obviously, as you said, we all think we have flaws, but don't keep it as an excuse.
No.
Just because you think that you might be flawed and you shouldn't, you know, maybe venture out in doing something good, that is not the way to go about it. But I'm wondering if I'm the only one who's asking you if this is really doable. I mean, what kind of questions come your way when you, you know, telling people about it? What do people ask you?
Well, one of the things that people ask in Pakistan, understandably enough, is that here we are a polarized society, and that some people don't like, you know, seem to have very hard-line views. How are you going to be compassionate there? And I think what we have to do, this situation exists here in Pakistan, but also in other parts of the world. It's very clear this kind of division too in the United States, for example, and in countries in the Middle East. The thing to do is not to take a confrontational approach. I've made a study of these types of religious groups, and I understand they have anxieties and fears. And history shows that when these groups are attacked, either physically or verbally in a media campaign, they become more extreme. This exacerbates fear. We have to find a way somehow of speaking to people, saying what we feel honestly. We have to stand up sometimes for against cruelty or injustice, but speaking calmly, quietly, and ask yourself always when you're about to speak, will these words actually help, or am I seeking to punish in some way, or to let off steam? And this is difficult.
So
because
the key is to keep questioning yourself as well, your motives as well, why you are doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Socrates, the great Greek sage, the founder of the Western rational tradition, said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Every single one of our received opinions and prejudices that we've had since childhood, that are in the ozone around us, these have to be examined, questioned, in a kind, peaceful way, kind to yourself, and then realizing that everybody has these prejudices. Everybody suffers too. Suffering is something that is absolutely endemic to the human condition. It is we all suffer. We all have pain and fears and anxieties that we don't often share with everybody. And this is something that unites us. Our enemies too, so-called, they are in pain too.
Which is something that we tend to forget at times.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. What do you think is the biggest obstacle that people might feel in their lives when they are venturing out to be compassionate, to be good, to do something good? What stops them?
Well, self-interest first, and people, and compassion is risky. I mentioned Martin Luther King, for example, and he was assassinated. And now we don't want to be assassinated, obviously, but and so we tend to put barricades around ourselves and think about number one. And we tend to think too that if somebody else succeeds and is happy, I am somehow less. And we have to fight our corner in business and in our careers and even in our own families, among our friends. Let that go. It's a question of letting it go, and then you find actually that you're happier. A lot of those anxieties hold us back from a fuller perception of life.
Absolutely. Now what you're saying, obviously, I would say, of course, it has been put in a very convincing way, but this is not a message. It's not new to us.
No.
Obviously, this has been the message all around. I'm wondering why we forgot it, and I'm also wondering how just the fact that we forgot it led us to so many wars.
Well, I think if the great sages who arrived at the idea of compassion, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Confucius, Buddha, Jesus, they were all living in societies like our own, where violence had reached an unprecedented crescendos, never before, where there was greed in the market. And they devised this as another way of being human. They worked as hard as we work to find a cure, a compassionate cure for humanity, as we do when we're trying to find a cure for cancer. Right. Now, every generation has to make that effort. every generation tends to forget the compassionate ethos and has to remind themselves continually. But now it is an urgent necessity for us.
And how did we lose it? Now you said that every generation actually tends to forget that. Is it that over the years, as the world became more secular, that we started to actually forget certain great aspects that were common amongst us?
Well, our society is very much driven by the market, for one thing, and our society is always telling us to promote ourselves, and transformation for us as often means a makeover, a facelift, or losing weight or something.
Or making more money.
Or
basically.
making more money, getting and spending.
More success. Right.
and fighting your corner in your career. And that tends to make for a sort of stampede for wealth, where we want to mow other people down around ourselves. That our society is always asking us to buy more things to keep the economy going, and to work harder and harder to earn more money. And in the process, yes, it's easy to forget about compassion.
Karen, you might have been doing this the couple of days that you have been in Pakistan, but for the benefit of our viewers, I would like you to briefly go over some of the 12 points that you have given to adopt this compassionate lifestyle.
Well, we start off with learning about compassion, what it means in our
and
own,
defining it right,
and in our own tradition, and looking at it across the globe, seeing that we're not alone in our quest for compassion, that it's a universal thing in religion. And then looking around your world, step 2, to see what you can personally do, and making an absolute resolve. If anyone's watching who likes this, can just do that, make an absolute resolve to do one thing that will make the world a better place today.
So it should be a targeted effort.
A targeted effort, always leading to action. Then one of the steps is noticing the way you react when people treat you unkindly or impatiently.
How would you do that? Obviously, a natural reaction would be to be unkind.
Yes, unkind back. But notice how you feel when someone is impatient with you. And then say, now I'm not going to inflict that pain on somebody else.
Right.
When you're about to make that
empathy.
Unpleasant remark about an annoying colleague or your former wife, or ask yourself, how would I like that said about me? And then refrain. And then if you do that once a day, first of all, and then when that's become a regular occurrence in your life, up your game and go for 2.
Yeah.
And gradually build it up. Some of the steps too ask you to realize how little we know. We are very we're very dogmatic these days. We're full of our own opinions. We get information at the click of a mouse. And yet, how much do you really know about the person sitting next to you in the office?
Absolutely.
Each person has all kinds of untold history, pain, distress, anxiety that you never know about. And yet we talk about people in such a knowing way, saying, oh, well, the trouble with him is, or...
we don't go too deep, actually, to find out what the real issues are.
Plus, we do that with whole cultures, whole societies. Certainly that happens in the West about Islam. People say, oh, Islam is this, and they don't really know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
Catch yourself and say, how much do I really know?
And question yourself, actually.
Yes,
again,
that perpetual self-questioning. Then, how do we speak to one another? Because I don't know how it is in Pakistan, but in the West, our discourse is so often aggressive. It's often not enough for us in the academy, in politics, in the media.
And it is often, if I may add, based on preconceived notions already. We have already made up our mind.
Absolutely.
When we start the discussion.
Yes, I mean, dialogue is one of the buzzwords of our time. But dialogue usually means trying to force the other person to accept our point of view. Instead of listening. We're not very good at listening in our culture. And often it's not enough for us to seek the truth. We also have to humiliate and defeat our opponents.
Karen, there is a lot of courage required to actually go through all these steps.
It is.
You make up your mind. It is a certain lifestyle, actually, that you begin to follow.
But that's why you do it step by step. You can't take the whole thing on at once because, it requires such an upheaval that you think, I can't do it. But if you just do it step by step, integrating one of these practices at a time, you begin to transform yourself. You can you can change your mind, as it were. You can change the way you think.
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to give a moment to our viewers to actually take it all in, whatever Karen has been saying. Heavy words, doable things, definitely, and pressing times require, you know, changes like these as well. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, Karen Armstrong is with us, and Amin Hashwani will be joining us as well to talk about how this is spreading in Pakistan. Yeah. Hello, welcome back, and I hope you got the breather that you needed to take in everything that Karen Armstrong was saying. Doable things, I'm very inspired already, especially the way she has broken it down, how to adopt a compassionate life. Joining us right now, of course, we have Karen Armstrong sitting with us. Joining us is Amin Hashwani, Karen's very good friend, and also promoting the compassionate lifestyle here in Pakistan as well. Amin, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome, sure. Good morning. What is your perspective on the Charter for Compassion, first of all?
I think Karen very aptly puts it, it's a call for action. And we really have to go where they say the rubber meets the road, and we need to do something very proactively to make a difference. It's not a feel-good effect. So we are very action-oriented.
I mean, these are challenging times, and Karen, I would draw you also in the conversation. These are challenging times, of course, for the world, but then again, sorry, but I'm, you know, deferring from what you just said. I'm going to concentrate on just Pakistan right now and not really think what is going abroad. How do we adopt such a compassionate lifestyle in such testing, trying, intolerable times?
Yeah. I think it is vital that we need to define ourselves first, and we need to stand for something rather than stand against something. That's the key. And like Karen mentioned in this dialogue, we take these stated positions, and we always define ourselves by putting someone else down and putting our point of view across. So we need to really stand for something, so we get this sense of security within ourselves. When we're secure, we're calm, we become compassionate, and hence you start empathizing with the other person as well. Otherwise, we're too much into our own selves, and we're driven, and we just cannot get out of that circle. So I think that will be a very good start, and that's exactly how we are doing it. We're not going into anything, we're just talking about humanity, insaniyat ki hum baat kar rahe. That's what. So all our partners which we're looking at, we are collaborating, we just going and doing something positive.
Okay. Karen, your experience in Pakistan, obviously, if you go by the newspapers and the news reports that come out in the West about Pakistan, there is that intolerant extremist minority, and then there is the very tolerant progressive majority. Did you get to see that majority? Did you get to interact with them? What kind of questions came your way?
Well, I'm always moved by the generosity and openness of the Pakistani people. This is my third visit.
Okay.
And I've been tremendously moved and surprised by the warmth with which they listen to me. And I often say to my friends back in the West, look, would you invite a Pakistani to come over and lecture you about democracy, for example, as the Pakistanis invite me to lecture to them about Islam, a Western woman. And
That's
so
true.
that is this is an immensely hopeful thing. And I have written another book which will be out next week, a little book with the 12 steps from an Islamic perspective, called 12 Steps for no, it's called A Letter to Pakistan.
Oh, lovely. Specifically for us.
Yes, specifically for Pakistan, and because it would mean so much for a country on the front line, as it were, of all the troubles in our world. When I know there's such compassion in this nation, to utter a compassionate voice. And Amin is developing such a wonderful program for making compassion a vibrant force in Pakistan and making it one of the real leading players in the Charter.
Lovely. I mean, please do tell us about this program, the way you have developed it.
Sure. We are basically working with a host of partners. For example, we have the Rafi Peer Theatre Workshop, Fazan Pirzada is there. They are developing Sesame Street programs for like children. So we are developing a character with them that will epitomize compassion. And we will introduce that character in the Sesame Street puppetry.
That's a great idea.
So, and then that character we will subsequently use in schools, in other educational materials which we'll be developing with the with OUP, Oxford University Press. And they have been partners with us, and they've been extremely very forthcoming, and the 2 books that that Karen has published here has been published by them, and they have helped us in a lot of ways. So we are working with, for example, with the Citizen Foundation again. We have this plaque, Charter for Compassion. We'll be putting in the 700 schools at the prominent locations, so children can see that, read that every day. It's about all day and every day.
Is it will be on the initiative of the children, or is it going to be a part of, let's say, some sort of the curriculum, something that is taught to them?
Absolutely. So yes, it is about, we will be developing curriculum material as well. Some will be supplementary reading, some will be actually course material. We'll be doing, similarly, we are working with Abdul Sattar Eidi Saab. Now he has agreed to put the plaques at all the Eidi centers, the Urdu translation. So again, these are very significant things. We've got a website, charterforcompassion.org.pk. .org is the international website, .pk is the Pakistan website. So we've got bloggers who are, we just launched it day for yesterday.
Okay.
So again, so that is kind of developing. We are working with business people. We are developing programs for management trainees, employee trainees, where corporations could see that, if you can develop better human beings, they will be better equipped to implement their corporate values, become better employees. So first, better human beings to become better employees. So, and plus, we are linking up with a lot of people overseas, internationally as well, that are working. So there are a host of activities that are going on.
And these are hand in hand, they go hand in hand with the efforts and the activities taking place elsewhere in the world as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So there is nothing specifically Pakistan specific here. But this is
there will be certainly. Karen,
okay,
please go ahead.
Well, because every region has its own particular problems to address, and everybody has Pakistan's problems. Some will be the same as those on the west coast of America, but some will be very different. So we have to work it within our own sphere. But I think my dream is to also, I love the idea that now the Pakistanis are talking to people around the world to develop together a charter for business, as it were. This is immensely important. And in every city in Pakistan, you're setting up a core group, aren't you? Yeah. If anybody's wanting to join in with this and come forward with your ideas, and go on the website and see what you can do.
Great. I mean, if you could just repeat once again the website as well, because we have very enlightened viewership, and I'm sure they would love to join in.
Sure. It's called charterforcompassion.org.pk. We are also going into universities, colleges also. We are developing course materials in collaboration with them, with various stakeholders, so that, we have as a course in all universities and colleges of the country on compassion. So every graduate student, we would like to make it mandatory for them to actually take that course, and various organizations have been very
okay, the website is on our screens now, and people can actually start logging in right now. In the meantime, I have a question for Karen now. I've been talking to you, we have been reading up your books as well. Not that this would be a part of your life. I don't think frustration would be a part of your life at all. But does it frustrate you that these are religious teachings? I mean, even if you're talking about compassion, it is the common thing amongst all religions. Why do we have to restart and re-jog it and re-plug it, in a sense? Does it frustrate you?
Well, it was this frustration actually that made me make this wish. Okay. Because I've been studying the world religions now for over 20 years. And whatever I've been writing about, whether it's been a history of God or a history of Jerusalem, a history of Islam, a biography of the Buddha, I keep coming back to the idea of compassion. And yet you very rarely hear about it.
True.
When, you know, when a group of Christian bishops come together, for example, they'll probably be talking about some point of doctrine that everybody must agree on. And that's the criterion of faith. And I've lost count of the number of times when I've jumped into a cab in London and the cabbie says, "What do you do for a living?" And I tell him, and he tells me the religion's just an evil force in the world. And so we must. So it seemed to me that if we could only restart this and call people back and place compassion at the centre of the religious and moral and ethical and political life.
Absolutely.
We might solve some of the huge problems we're facing in our world today.
I mean, the very thing, religion that should have probably brought people together, and which is the idea, is the thing that is dividing people these days.
Well, it is. That is true, and that's largely because we identify so closely with our own ideas. They become part of ourselves, and we feel threatened when they're attacked. But look at the way people are responding to the Charter all around the world. That's just one indication of how people can work together. We don't have to fall in love with one another, but we can be friends, standing side by side, looking at the same goal. And in working together for a better world, we'll begin to see that though we have differences, and those are significant and important differences, we have so much in common.
Absolutely. We have to focus on the commonality.
I think all of us, all of us have a good side and a bad side. This goes, we as an individual, we as a society, as a country, as a nation. So I think it is very important for us to create that conducive environment that the good comes out rather than the bad side.
We have a duty to protect other people from our the destructive impulses that we all have.
That's a good way to put it.
And we have a duty as individuals and as a society.
If only people start thinking that way again.
Yes.
That is actually the message of this all along. You think Pakistan is ready for it in the troubling times that we are going through?
Absolutely. I think sometimes things have to get worse before they start getting better.
Right.
There is a sense of realization that we need to do something about it. It's call for action. It's not about drawing room debates and just having cigars and having a high level of cynicisms going around. So I think there is, because as we've seen that in the last lectures that we've had, I think the response has been absolutely overwhelming. Tremendous outpour of people that yes, we need to do something, tell us what we can do.
Which also gives us hope, that people actually want to look at ways and to do this, actually to adopt this kind of lifestyle. I'm sorry, I would have loved to go on with this, but we are short on time. We have to close it right here. Karen Armstrong, thank you very much for coming here. It's been an honor having you. And you know, this voice of sanity, as I keep saying, we need to hear it. I mean, thank you for joining, Karen, as well, and being on the show. Hello, welcome back, people. Now, there is hardly anyone from a certain generation who has not heard of the band Overload. Now, Overload exploded onto the scene a couple of years back and mesmerized all and sundry with their obsessive overload of percussion that not only included the drums that the main man of the band is famous for, but also the desi dhol that you and I secretly love. Initially known as the band without a song, Overload comfortably segued into songs with their second album featuring the eclectic Misha Shafi, but that union ended in a very public feud, forcing, or rather paving the way for the band leader himself to exchange his drumsticks for a microphone. Please welcome the man with the magic fingers, who has also proved that he has as much passion in his singing as well, Farhad Humayun. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well, how are you?
Good to have you here, Farhad. I must say that we have wanted to have you on the show for a while now.
I wanted to be on the show, but you know that musicians wake up late.
I know, yes.
We're in the
we are very
studio,
aware
we
of that.
spend nights working on music. So it's good to be here. Thank you for having
But
me.
we are glad that you do spend those nights working on music, because you've got some great music. We love
Thank
it.
you
It's
so
very
much.
different.
Thank you so much.
So Farhad, you obviously were a drummer. How do drummers?
I still am.
You are, of course, but you are also a singer now.
Okay.
Vocalist.
I
with
don't
the
know if I'm
bhakti
comfortable
craze.
with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Still not?
I've just
You look
sung
very
one song.
comfortable.
I've produced bands over the years. I've worked with singers over the years, and you know, I've learned a few things. I'm not really trained as a singer, but I'm a rock musician, and I think I do justice to that genre.
At least the song that you did do, and of course we will be playing it in a while, that looked
Great.
as if it was coming from the heart.
It really is. Otherwise, there's no point in doing music. I mean, if you can't convince yourself of the words that you're saying, then the audience isn't going to be convinced either. So you have to believe in what you say and mean it.
Of course, and of course we know with your drumming, and we've seen the passion that you come out with. You're totally in it. You are probably as mesmerized by the whole sound of it as the audience that you are
It
playing
is
for.
an overwhelming experience when we're on stage and in the studio, because we're the loudest band in Pakistan. And the volume and the energy that's on stage is crazy. So it's inspiring to be on stage with these boys.
Absolutely. Now, Farhad, how did you have the confidence that, okay, fine, you know, we are going out with a band and we have got the musicians, we've got the signs who also play the dhol and everybody, and people are going to go for it. There is no song, there are no lyrics, there's nothing in it. When you started off, you had the confidence that it would sell?
No, we didn't even want it to be a commercial thing. I mean, we're still not a mainstream commercial band, but we never thought we'd be playing concerts all over the world and doing festivals. We never thought about how people would react to it. But I guess it was just a strange mix of people visually, and the audio was also very strange to begin with, but very loud, and our audience loves volume.
Oh, absolutely. And who is your audience, by the way? Who are you targeting?
Well, I want to play for anyone who wants to listen. I mean, if you look at people who like hearing the dhol, then, you know, it ranges from little kids to really old people. But I guess our main audience would be between the ages of 16 and 45.
Okay, which is a large chunk anyway. Everybody basically comes in it. So had it been just the drums and not the dhol that came in, you think that it would have made a similar impact?
No, probably not. But I think if now I were to collaborate with some of the biggest drummers in Pakistan, it would still be acceptable and interesting to watch. But you know, the dhol and the drums are both very loud instruments.
True.
So we're like wrestlers, you know, or boxers in a match, and we're constantly fighting with each other. It's a dialogue between us on stage. So that makes it interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that dialogue and the gestures and the body language also, it comes across when we, you know, see
We're
you.
completely into the performance.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
so we are going to show our viewers the latest rendition that you gave, Patti. And yeah, okay, we are going to play it, watch it, and then we come back. Wow, Farhad, you have the energy, by the way, in your singing, like you play as well, because you're really singing. You know, you could sing from the soul, from the heart. You're singing from the gut. You're really going out with it.
That's the way it's meant to be done.
Okay, so tell us, is it like an answer to your earlier, and that was yours as well, your earlier song Bijli, because this is Batti, that was Bijli. The sound is exactly the same. The composition is a little different. Tell us.
Well, that was 2009. This is 2011. We had some more members in the band that are not here anymore. I mean, yes, they're alive, but they're not in the band anymore.
Yeah. We've seen the lineup change over the years.
Yeah, and it has changed. It has been changing throughout. Just myself and Shiraz on keyboards were the two constant members.
Yeah.
I've been running the band since 2003, so this is our 8th year. And over the course of time, a lot of people have joined the band for a short burst and then left for their own reasons.
Okay.
This time, I felt that Overload needed to be self-sufficient, and that's what everybody in the band felt. And our singer had to go on maternity leave, but we still had to continue because we're professionals.
Of course.
So you need to continue with any work, whether a bank hires a lady who goes on maternity leave, the bank still continues, the company still goes on.
Yeah, but they don't really go out. Like in your case, Bijli and Batti, very similar, and the way you're singing and the way the lyrics are, it
that
does
was
seem
done
like
by a girl, this is done by a guy.
And it seems like almost like a Jawabi fire or something like that, for lack of a better term.
You could say that, but it's not aimed at anybody.
Okay.
Yes, and we're just naturally born with an attitude, and maybe that's what is clicking in this particular song. And
so how did the court orders come in, and your singer, earlier singer of the band, Misha, I wanted to Google find your song, I couldn't do it.
It's on YouTube, it's on our website, it's on Meta Cafe, it's on Facebook.
Okay.
It's all over the place. I don't know where you were searching.
Okay.
But
okay, now you can, now how hard I search for things.
No, it's everywhere.
So, but it does give a strip where there's a copyright issue going on or something. Do tell us about that.
Well, basically, when I had to drop the husband and wife from the band, they're new to the music industry, right? And a lot of new people don't understand how the music business works.
Okay.
We've been doing this over 10 years. In one capacity or the other, maybe in some cases as a producer I've been working. In this particular case, when I was served the order, I found it funny because I see people on the news who've killed other people and committed big crimes, and they're still roaming free. So I mean, it's my property anyway. It's been proven, so what are you going to do about it? I still release the song.
Absolutely.
It's my song. So,
And besides, you never hear about intellectual property rights here in Pakistan. At least, nobody, I've never heard anybody sue anybody else over here.
They apply, but music is an industry that's not really tapped into. I don't think people know that there is a lot of money involved in music now, as there is in fashion and entertainment. So a lot of people tell me, oh, it's just one song that you're fighting about. I say it's not just one song, this is a lifetime of work that's brought us here. And it's just as valuable as a piece of land, perhaps.
So when you guys made the Bijli one, this is obviously Batti, the Bijli one, who wrote the lyrics? Whose effort really went into it?
Okay, when a band works together, we've seen this with Jal and Atif Aslam also. We've seen this with a number of other bands. I think we have gone public with it, and Atif and Jal went public with it. Nobody else usually goes public with it because nothing comes out of it. It's a very childish, activity. So I got Nasir Sain to play dhol on it. I did drums on it. Shiraz did keyboards on it. Farhan did bass on it. Who else? Mahmood did guitars on it. Misha. I'd even composed the vocal melody for it. Misha came into the studio, she wrote the lyrics with the help of Shiraz, and she sang it. Like I told her to sing because I produced the band. So, you know, a producer is the music director.
Of course.
So, it's a team effort. I don't say that they didn't have anything to do with it.
So out of all these people, like 6, I think, of them that you
Yes.
quoted, you cannot just, one cannot claim that this is all mine. That is what you're saying.
Of course, I can claim it's mine because I pay for it.
Okay.
Right? I employ all these band members.
Huh.
I pay them. I pay their taxes also.
Okay.
So it's my property. Even in the copyright law, the owner is described as the person who pays for the song and the person who composes the song, not the lyricist.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Legally, it's mine.
All right.
Do whatever you
so
like.
when you were doing this version, Bijli to Batti, what made you change it? You wanted
The
to,
lyrics?
The lyrics and the
Well,
composition a
I
little
was
bit.
served a stay order, a restraining order, saying that basically you can't use this song. Now, legally and technically, Batti is a new song altogether, right?
True.
If you put, I can quote so many examples. If you put 2 songs side by side, even in the West, they may have the same chords playing on piano or guitar or some other instrument, and a similar melody, but the lyrics are different.
The arrangement is different.
It is.
It's very
It is
obvious.
completely
I think
different.
people who have heard both the songs would know that yes, they sound the same, but they are different. We know
They
that.
are 2 different songs altogether. I mean, of course, there's going to be a comparison because we used to have a girl in the band.
Of course.
And of course, she's famous doing what she does. But now the comparison is between me and her. And, you know, it's healthy. I like it. No
Okay,
worries.
we went out, we sent our team out and we asked people to tell us whether they liked, they preferred this, Batti or Bijli. And we got some really interesting response that we
Interesting.
would like you to see. How about we play that? Okay, let's, here it is. You have to, Farhad, move here, this
Okay.
side. We'll be showing it.
Right.
Okay, they are still arranging it. But anyway, we got some interesting response and you will be surprised what people had to say.
Farhad is better than Misha.
Batti song is better than Bijli because I guess it has more passion.
I think Misha sung it better.
But I think Farhad sang it better.
Farhad's song is better than Bijli. I didn't like that song Bijli and I like Farhad's song.
But this song is better song than Bijli because I guess it is composed better.
I think Farhad composed it a little bit better.
I like Farhad's song. Farhad's song, but he's composed better.
Misha sang it better than Farhad. Farhad is better than Misha.
I think Farhad's song Batti is more attractive comparatively.
I think so. Misha sang this song very well.
I think Farhad is more passionate in this song than Misha Shafi.
I like the song sung by Misha.
As far as composition is concerned, Farhad composition is better than Misha's one.
If I talk about Sur, Farhad is more surila than Misha.
Misha Shafi made it more glamorous.
I like Farhad's song Batti.
I think Bijli sung glamorously, but Batti sung passionate.
Farhad's song is better than Bijli.
All right, so.
That's
yeah.
an interesting perspective.
Yeah, and people are very perceptive. They really picked the passion and the glamour aspect
I
of it.
didn't
and
know
they-
they were drawing so many comparisons, and I didn't know if people had heard this one or the previous one, but it's interesting to see them.
But now you do, thanks to us. We
Thank you
kind
so
of,
much.
put this together for you. But the good part is that you own both the songs anyway. So
Of course.
really, it
Yes.
doesn't really matter which one is better. Of course, one you have more heart and soul
The
in
first
it.
one was also my composition.
Yeah.
Yes, she sang it, but this one is all mine because I feel like you know how they say that a person embodies something? I feel like I took in everything that this song needed and expelled it.
True.
So I do feel a lot for my music.
So do you think it has become even bigger than what you thought it would?
No, it hasn't. Because,
Not yet?
I mean, it was stopped on the internet, it was stopped on television. It could have been a lot bigger, but this controversy has really boosted it. And, you know, I find people searching the web for it a lot and they don't find it.
Exactly.
But yes, it's all over the web. It's on our website as well, which is overloadbeat.com.
Okay. It's going to be on our page as well, Facebook. We're going to
Excellent.
make sure that we put it there. Okay, now that you have tasted that thing of, you know, singing, and I guess this was also the very first major song that you did. I'm sure that you sing on your own anyway.
Well, I have a recording studio, so I experiment with my voice a bit, but I haven't done any commercial work as a singer.
Okay, so what's coming up next?
We're doing a few old filmy songs.
Okay.
And we're remixing them so that the new generation sees that Pakistani music is also really good film music, and you know, the West or Bollywood isn't the precedent.
Okay, so you are picking up Pakistani songs.
Well, not that's not going to be a common practice, but yes, we have picked up a couple of songs from the Pakistani film circuit.
Okay.
And Sayyid Noor Saab has been very kind in that respect. He's given us a few songs to use, so he's not going to be suing us.
Yeah, you've had the bitter taste now that this actually happens here in Pakistan.
It does, yeah. But we're also going to be continuing with our instrumental stuff, and we're going to be featuring other people also, because that is the philosophy of Overload. We get together with a lot of people, we throw a party and we record music.
Yeah, we've heard tales of those parties, that it's a lot of, it doesn't almost, you know, feel like it's not work. I mean, that you are working,
it's supposed to be
there,
fun when
but
you're
it's
working.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Lovely, Farhad, thank you very much, by the way, for coming here,
Thank
clearing
you so
out a
much.
lot of, you know, misconceptions, controversy, and being very candid about it.
Of course.
As well. So, best of luck. Hello, welcome back. Okay, quotation now, and this quotation we picked up right when we were coming into the show because we loved it. Okay, it's on our screen, and if you can find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. How cool is that? If you can find a path with no obstacles, it's no use being there. Okay, now word for you, and get ready for the last word of the week. Again, it's something I picked up while reading, and this time I was reading about the scandal about former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway, roll drums please. The word of the day is hightail. Hightail. Hightail means to go away or leave rapidly. It can be put to use in a number of ways, such as you could say about somebody, last we saw of him, he was hightailing down the street. Or you could use it in another tense, which such as to say to somebody, hightail it down to the grocery store and buy some bread for lunch now. So that is how it is done. Okay, I've been told that we are in a big hurry, so I'm just going to say bye-bye to you.